Welcome to today's video on the Warrior Pikemen for Age of Empires Mobile in 2026. I'm going to take you on a journey from Season 1 all the way to Season 7 so you understand as a new player, or if you're in the mid-season or in the late game, what you should be investing into and what you should be focusing on in the future for your account. And that does include showcasing the full infographics for skills and rings with my ratings down at the bottom, which I will explain on that section, and even breaking down singular heroes as well as using the in-game gameplay to break down at the end of the video the different signet rings that we've talked about in today's video, as well as your mount choices and adornments that you can be picking for your formation. So with all of that, you know what to do, guys. Smash a like, comment, and subscribe. And let's dive into today's video and get you into the Warrior Pikeman spirit and become a pro at these pikemen. So firstly, let's talk about the very first season, which is Leonidas and Richard. And the thing is, with these two heroes, you can obviously unlock them. However, what I would recommend is only going for a 1-star or potentially a 3-star adder push. This is because early game, no matter what, with Leo or your Richard, and even your Boudica that comes around the corner in Season 2, all of these heroes will be replaced by one hero in Season 4, which is a very short window in investment. So it's a bit of a waste of time to try and 5-star one of these heroes, knowing you could have used universal medals on better commanders in the future that you're going to be wanting on your account. So we're going to be using either our Boudica here or one of these two as a stepping stone in our early game. And the thing is, I would recommend not unlocking Leonidas. It is a little bit of a waste, and to be honest, he is getting outshone pretty quickly in the game. On top of this, Richard isn't that good. However, Richard does perform one really cool aspect on here, which is if you spin his legendary advent wheel, which is free to play friendly, 60 times, and this means you skip the very first wheel and at least save up for the second or third wheel that might come around for Richard I, you're able to achieve 60 spins, and this will unlock one of the 3 early game supports that you're going to have access to, which is Frederick Barbarossa in the dead center. And this hero is absolutely crazy for Warrior Pikemen, especially in the early game, because you're going to be able to use him from Season 1 all the way, honestly, to Season 4 and onwards, depending on the different path that you might have taken from today's information. Barbarossa basically just makes you an absolute tank. He makes you an immovable object. While you're losing more and more troops, he's reducing the troop damage you take and increasing, you can see, the recovery rate of your troops. This is triggering a skill called Peaceful Haven, which is a really cool combo that's allowing you to maximize the damage reduction for your troop. You also have some really good skill options for free-to-play friendly marches, and some of the big spenders even use this too, is Wardrum, because this gives you over 100 armor for all of your pikemen, making them more tankier so they can take more hits. But more importantly for our boy Barbarossa here, it's going to allow his skills to actually scale, because as you can see, there's a bracket saying armor bonus, and that armor bonus is going to obviously mean your main attribute for your hero, which is Armyy in our Frederick Barbarossa state. It's going to scale more. So the more armor we get, the better it is. So it's a really cool free-to-play friendly skill that you can be running on there. Alternatively, if you don't want to run this, I would recommend, honestly, running either Tenacity for rally gameplay, but the #1 choice is going to be Metal. Metal is the #1 epic healing skill in the game, and honestly, the #1 counter swarm skill in the game. The amount of healing this skill does is just bonkers, and when you put this on Barbarossa, he does not let you die out there. So if you're being swarmed, don't worry, this will keep you up. So that is going to be the rundown on our Barbarossa. Then we've got our Darius and we've got Joan of Arc. And the sad truth about Darius is he's just not good enough for the Warrior Pikeman early game. You're able to unlock him completely free to play, and you're able to do this through the exploration event inside Age of Empires Mobile. The problem is you're earning his medals too slow in order to get him online and make him effective in that open field. So that does leave you with one choice, which is Joan of Arc. And the thing is with Joan of Arc, she is actually not a bad free-to-play friendly hero that you could be using in the game, and alternatively, a stepping stone if you don't unlock a Barbarossa through a Mightiest Governor event, or if you didn't achieve the 60 spins through that Richard Legendary Advent Wheel. Joan of Arc is pretty good because she also, as you can see, provides metal as a skill, so this gives you really good sustain. And what you can actually run for her second skill is going to be Fearless Retribution, just to help a little bit of damage that she does, but more importantly, it adds that extra little bit of recovery too. So with metal and retribution as a combo, you actually get a decent amount of sustain out of this Joan of Arc that you can be using as an early game filler unit until you unlock a better hero in the lineups. So out of all of this information, what would I unlock for me in an early game? Well, the one hero that I would go for, honestly, is going to be your Boudica. Boudica is going to be the pivotal kind of 1-star or 3-star commander in Season 2 that's obtained through the Legendary Advent Wheel. She's really good because she can deal some decent damage, and with her skills, she can actually boost her own damage output out and even increase her own might, which is a really good supportive skill that you're able to use in the future. So even after you've used your Boudica as a commander, if you want to, you can use her as a mid-game support if you don't have a good high-starred Barbarossa, or if you just don't have any alternative choices. So really good hero, really good early game basic hero to run. So with that knowledge, what would I do? What would I do? Well, we're going to run straight away into the Season 1 to 3 setup, and that's going to be the Boudica, Barbarossa, and Mansa Musa setup. And until you own that Mansa Musa on your account, you should have learned by now from the information, you will run Joan of Arc. So it's going to be Boudica, Barbarossa, and Joan of Arc. And in Season 3, you will get a Legendary Advent Wheel for our boy Mansa Musa. And Mansa Musa is the #1 all-star early game support that you're going to be wanting to unlock on your account, because after Season 3 and into Season 4, when you unlock your primary DPS for your warrior pikemen and you get rewarded for your patience, Mansa Musa is going to be still there all the way to the end, even in Season 7 with the late game options. Is it just because Mansa Musa has a really powerful signature skill that's honestly a really good early game investment, even at 3 stars? So even as a 3-star commander for free-to-players and low spenders, this is a really good, powerful hero that you can rely on. What he does is every time you take 12 attacks, and you can take 2 normal attacks per second, meaning if 2 people hit you, it's going to count that, which means it only takes 6 turns of combat for this to trigger, which deals 450% damage to them, which scales off might, and then recovers your troops with a 90% rate, and then reduces your troop damage taken by 12%. All of that goodness is achieved through a 3-star Mansa Musa. And if you're able to invest into this hero and actually push him into the 5 stars, like a lot of the spenders should do from this video as a warrior pikeman main, you guys will be rewarded with an additional 6% damage reduction effect, and you extend the entire duration of this by 3 seconds, giving you an additional full turn on all heroes to basically cycle through. So when you read this skill, it's an 18% damage reduction, 450% damage rate, 90% on that recovery for 6 seconds. It's a lot of work that this one hero does for you. So definitely one of the best supports in the game. And on top of that, he also comes with metal and the more important skill, Golden Odyssey, which is also recovering units, but you're going to be increasing the damage dealt by your commander by 13.4%. This is really important because later on, we're going to bring this back up when we go into a late game comp, so we don't stack certain buffs and lose a little bit of value for our march. So really, really cool setup. You're not going to be disappointed in your Mansa Musa. So from here, as we've said, we've got Boudica. We're in that Season 3. You're going to progress now into Season 4. And this is when Cyrus comes. Cyrus comes on the wheel. And if you're a warrior pikeman, this is where patience comes off. Anyone will tell you, and me as a content creator trying to be honest here, season 1 to 3 is a little bit rough, just because you don't have all of the key pieces that you need. But as soon as you hit season 4 and Cyrus comes out, you are rewarded. This hero is bonkers, and he's going to be one of the key pieces alongside that Mansa Musa that's going to be in your warrior pikeman now from season 4 all the way up to season 7, which is really cool, giving you basically flexibility on what you want to run in that third slot for your formation, which is really good. Cyrus the Great basically does a ton of damage, as you'll see through his passive skills, with a 65% chance of doing it, but he's also having a 65% chance to ignore over 20% of the enemy's defenses. And when you can combine this with the Swiss pikemen, which also give you extra penetration on defense as a pikeman mercenary unit, you have a lot of punching power through all the stats, all of the tech power that people are grinding to make their units as tanky as possible. So Cyrus the Great is fantastic. His Child Prophecy also does a nice amount of damage, and also, meanwhile, the critical damage taken by your troop is reduced, meaning against Lubus, that's a massive rampant, menace on the open field. You don't take that much damage from them, and you are being a pikeman is their direct counter. It makes you just kill them super easy. And that's the one thing that anyone will tell you with this. Once you get Cyrus, your Cyrus should be eating Lubu like dinner on the open field, and every single person will be thanking you for controlling the open field with your Cyrus march. And that does lead into my last point before we break into the formations that we're going to be using for Warrior Pikemen. Warrior Pikemen is designed to be an open field march at the moment. There's no real powerful heroes that's good in rallies. And the thing is, with the Warrior Pikemen, you can put them in rallies. Just don't expect too much damage. They can absorb a lot of damage, but the damage output just is not good enough, unfortunately. So they rule the open field, and that is perfectly fine, but I thought to warn you with that information. So with this now, we know Boudica, Barbarossa, and Mansa Musa is going to be our early game option. Rating's going to go 8 across the board. This is because, again, Barbarossa needs to be on the Legendary Advent Wheel for 60. And if you miss that Advent Wheel, you're going to use the Mightiest Governor event in order to get some chests and unlock Barbarossa. The skills we're running is Whirlwind Sweep, Forceful Retaliation on Boudica. This is to steroid her own damage and do as much damage from her signature and the retaliation as possible. We've got the free-to-play ring setup at the moment, which is going to be Ring of the Boar. Really good option early game to have and honestly use for free-to-play players mid and late game without breaking the bank. Barbarossa is using a legendary ring. It is Tranquil Water 1.6k, and this is just giving you damage reduction to combine with the damage reduction from Peaceful Haven and the recovery that you can trigger from your metal. Mansa Musa is using Golden Odyssey and metal as well to double up on the healing and keep you alive, and using Ring of the Falcon to increase the amount of recovery that you've got and give you damage reduction. The rating is the level 8, viability level 8, and obtainability level 8. Viability is only 8 because, again, Barbarossa and Mansa are actually pretty darn good. Boudica is the only weak link in the early phase. Longevity, again, rank 8 because you're going to be replacing Boudica very shortly, and in the future you could be replacing Barbarossa depending on your playstyle. So the very first one that we need to talk about, this is the first Cyrus march. It's going to be Cyrus Barb Mansa. Cyrus Barb Mansa is for those players that want to be low budget and kind of want to be the super tank of the Cyrus formations. This is a very easy obtainable match, as we've talked about. Cyrus and Mansa through the Legendary Advent Wheel, Barbarossa through Mightiest Governor event, and the 60 unlock for the Richard I wheel. And when it comes to the rings, we're keeping everything the same again. This is the free-to-play option rings. And don't worry for the spenders, the next two formations that you're going to see in a moment will showcase the spender ring options that I would prefer for you as best in slot for your formations. So going back to our Barb March, we have Child of Prophecy Forceful Retaliation on Cyrus, just to do as much damage as possible. And then with Mansa, we're going to be running Retribution as well as Golden Odyssey. I prefer this setup just because it does give your Mansa a little bit of extra damage. It can give anything from 10,000 to 20,000 extra damage for you, which is a better pack for your punch, and it also recovers your troops. If you choose to, you can replace Retribution for metal. That is 100% fine. And I would say if you feel like when you have Retribution online that your pikemen are dying too quick, you can switch back to metal and try it out. And if that is a better option, run that option. Do what you feel is best in the scenario and in the matchmaking that you've been put into in Age of Empires Mobile. So moving on, we're going into our next set of seasons. This is where we hit seasons 5, 6, and 7. And the first match that we're going to be looking at is going to be Cyrus, Vladimir, and Mansa. The upgrade from Barbarossa to Mansa. And this is a hot debate that you can go down, because the thing is, with both commanders, it is optional. If you choose to keep Barbarossa, it is perfectly fine. You go down the tank Cyrus route. The thing is, with Vladimir here, he is going to give you the more damage orientated Cyrus march. And as you've guessed it, depending on your playstyle, if you prefer to be a tank player in games, or if you prefer to be a bit more of an offensive bruiser in these games, well, this is where the difference on these formations lie. One will perform a little bit better than the other, and this is going to be very small percentages within each, which is perfectly reasonable. The thing is, with Vlad though, his whole kit does revolve around your other heroes that is going to be dealing damage. So when we read his kit, whenever your Cyrus deals might damage, you have a 50% chance at 3 stars in order to do all of this goodness. And the cool thing is, when you do upgrade this hero, it increases the chance and the defense ignore effect, and at 6 star it does it even further. And the cool thing with Vlad in our setup is you can switch between Vladimir or Cyrus in the primary slot. This is just because if you're noticing the open field is a little bit bare, and you're fighting a lot more 1v1s, and even in situations like the Wonder Contest, Vladimir is actually a really good alternative for the commander skill swap that you can be running on these two heroes. Cyrus does a bunch of might damage, but increases his counterattack trigger chance, obviously helping Vlad in that department. But when you read Vlad's commander skill as an alternative option, you deal might damage to up to 2 enemies instead, and for the next 6 seconds you reduce troop damage taken by 10%, and you grant 40% chance to increase your might damage to 1.2% of its normal value. And this is a massive amount of damage steroid as well as reduction, just to put in your march in 1v1 fighting. So again, really good alternative on there, and that's why we are running this setup. The ring choices, as you'll notice, is going to be Messenger of Destruction, Tranquil Water, and Celestial Spark. And the reason we run these rings is Messenger of Destruction is the #1 damage steroid ring for Warrior Pikemen. It does cost you 4,000 coins, so it is a bit expensive compared to your Ring of the Boar being a 600 ring, but the difference is the power once you hit level 20 and 30 for this ring. Celestial Spark, I do believe, is the #1 ring you can put on this march for Mansa, because you're getting 10% damage reduction, but you're also improving the damage output for Vlad and Cyrus on top of the Golden Odyssey combo that you put in onto Cyrus. The viability is a 10 out of 10. Anyone will tell you this does absolute work in the open field. The longevity is a 9 just because Vladimir is the weakest link out of this formation, and you will be looking for a replacement for either a DPS or a support, depending on what you prefer for your future investment. And the obtainability is going to be a 8 only because of the rings. You're going to be needing 2 4,000 rings and a 1.6k ring, which is a triple legendary setup, and the fine gold in order to fund that might be a little bit harder for the free-to-play and low spenders. However, I do want to make this clear, if you're able to unlock 1 additional legendary ring and you don't want to go down the Tranquil Water path, I would recommend that Messenger of Destruction. It is an absolute powerhouse, and at the end of this video, you will see when we showcase the signet ring descriptions, as well as the mounts and adornments and gems for your formation. So to finish up this last section, we're going to the final hero and the best current meta setup in Season 7, which is Cyrus, Roland, and Mansa. And we're going to be running a very controversial setup potentially, but I do think this is the #1 setup for a variety of different reasons. We're going to be running Cyrus the exact same as before, but Roland running Knight's Anthem as well as Fearless Retribution. And the way we're doing this is pretty simple. The way Roland works in Season 7 is the more damage that you're able to basically trigger from your other heroes, the more uptime his effect has. And the thing is, no matter what, a single hero is able to trigger this 100% of the time. But the thing is, if you're able to get another skill, even just one skill, to help speed up that rate, you'll notice the amount of advantage in PvP combat that you get is unmatched. And that's why I like to run, when it comes to the skill options, our good old Knight's Anthem and Fearless Retribution. Just to note on your march here, you can run double Golden Odyssey. This will trigger the recovery, so you have a ton of recovery on there, but just note this extra damage dealt does not stack on top of each other. What will occur if this is going on is you get the double recovery, you'll get the one bonus, and if they are triggered at different times, it will reset the trigger. That is it. It will just reset the timer. So just be careful of that, and that's why I personally don't like stacking double Golden Odyssey. So what we run is our good old Mansa Musa with Golden Odyssey and Metal. I make him the dedicated healer for this march with the Ring of Sage of the Judgment, which is every, I think, 9 seconds, doing damage reduction and also alternating to recovery, which we'll showcase in a moment. And then Tranquil Water on our Roland. Again, super powerful setup, but it does cost a bunch to get online. But this is the current #1 setup, and the alternative choice is literally running double Golden Odyssey instead of that Fearless Retribution. So now you kind of understand all of the different formations. What I'm going to do is just run down them all in a very quick summary so you understand everything as a player from Season 1 to Season 7. So hopefully, if you're in even the mid game at Season 3, you should understand what you're going to be looking at in the future. So firstly, this is your Season 1 to 3 formation: Boudica, Barbarossa, and Mansa Musa. If you do not enter Season 3, just use Joan of Arc until then as a replacement. From here, you're going to enter Season 4. This is going to be where Cyrus, Barbarossa, and Mansa is the tank lineup for your formation, and you can run this, honestly, all the way to Season 7 if you choose to. However, there is a damage variant, which is going to be Vladimir. This does operate just as good, but instead is a DPS version of the march instead of a tanky march. So imagine this as your bruiser. And then we have Cyrus, Roland, Mansa. And Cyrus, Roland, Mansa is basically a upgraded version of what Barbarossa was trying to achieve. However, Roland is a superior support in this lineup and is outperforming the Vladimir march. So it's up to you on how you want to approach this, but I would recommend always aiming for a Cyrus, Roland, Mansa. And if you are wondering what might happen in the future, you might be looking at a replacement for either the Mansa Musa or even the Cyrus the Great, depending on what that new warrior pikeman is going to be. So now we've gone through the summary. Now you understand hopefully the in and outs from Season 1 all the way to Season 7, what we're going to need for those formations. Let me break down all of the signet rings, the gems, as well as the skill, or well, the Adornment skills and mounts that you're going to need for them. So straight away, let's talk about the meta heroes that you're going to need. Anyone like Roland, and even heroes like Mansa Musa, as well as even Frederick Barbosa. What you're going to do for their rings on the 3rd slot here is going to be hero recovery. You want as much recovery in them as possible, just in order to obviously do as well as you can. For Roland, obviously he doesn't have that much recovery in our kit. So if you want to change this into something else, such as either true normal attack, or if you have extras, you can go for passive gems here. That's not a bad option because obviously he's able to do a little bit of passive damage through that Fearless Retribution. So he is a little bit more flexible on that slot. When it comes to your helmets, For all of your warrior pikemen, try to get either unit health or unit capacity. If you cannot get any of those two rings, what you want is unit defense. This is going to be your second best option, basically, if you can obtain any of the other two. This is just going to make you take as least damage as possible. The least damage you can take, the more Cyrus can do the work out there in the open field. When it comes to your actual gems, your Barbarossa will be using armor gems. He does all of his bonuses through armor, so make sure you have that on. When it comes to your Mansa Musa, or when it comes to Roland, you're going to be using might base gems, and that's going to help you obviously stir out their skills up the most. On top of this, when it comes to the final, boots, just make sure you put one of each when it comes to those retrospective gems we just talked about. When it comes to technically early game, Leonidas, Boudica, even your Richard, those gems that you're going to put onto these heroes are going to be the exact same gems that you'll be equipping to your Vlad as well as your Cyrus, which is going to be, as you'll notice again, either unit capacity or unit health for your March. This time it's going to be might. If you cannot run might, obviously the best thing to run alternatively is all attributes. This will increase your might, but it also increase your strategy, which will help you be basically defensive against one of your weaknesses, which is a Ramses March out there in the open field. When it comes to your next gems, it's going to be obviously passive skill damage, and when it goes to your finale, make sure you're running one of each. Again, I don't have some spare gems, so I'm running the best that I can run with the options that I have. But make sure for your Cyrus, for your Vlad, and even the early game Boudica, it's might base gems. Now, when it comes to the rings, let's explain some of these ring choices, because they are obviously really good for you. Ring of the Boar is a really good free-to-play friendly ring. It is epic. It's going to allow you to get a bunch of damage when you start falling below 60%. It's a 30% damage increase, and then at level 40, when you eventually max it out, a 42% passive skill damage increase. So that's just going to help everyone in your lineup basically just do more, which is perfect. This is what you kind of want. It's boosting up your Vlad, it's boosting up your Mansa's damage, it's boosting up Cyrus's damage, it's boosting up Boudica's damage, it's boosting everyone who deals damage within the lineup. So this is honestly the free-to-play all-star. However, as we mentioned before, Messenger of Destruction is king. This is an absolute bonkers skill, because you're reducing the damage of all of your normal attacks by 20%, and you're not too bothered about that sacrifice, because most of your damage is through your passive skills and your counter attacks. So this is increasing that damage now by 20%, and this is only at level 10. When you start scaling this up to 20 and 30, you hit 29, 41, now at level 40, 56, and then 75% at max, and that is just an outrageous amount of damage output for you. So for a spender, Messenger of Destruction is the #1 ring. For free-to-play players, you gotta think you're unfortunately not gonna fit this ring, because it's gonna be super hard for you to obtain the ending meteorite that you need to get it from 40 to 50. But you can definitely get this to 30 or 40, depending on how much fine gold you're able to farm over a long period of time. So that is obviously your Messenger of Destruction. Celestial Spark, as we mentioned before, is increasing the damage of your two heroes the highest might. So equipping this onto Mansa Musa or your Roland, for example, is really good, because you're increasing, obviously, the Vlad as well as the Cyrus. You can also equip this to Vladimir. This also increases his own damage as well as Cyrus as well, because they will be the two highest attributes in your formation on might. And if you're wondering what that means, again, just to remind you, if you go to your formations and click these little triple lines, you'll see the attribute overview. And as long as this might is the top on the first guy and the second guy, that ring is going to target those heroes. Going into the other ring choices, early game, if you really want something and you're stuck in a pickle, Ring of the Clover is an honorable mention. This is a 50% chance to get a 25% damage reduction, and you never know, sometimes in a pinch it does come in clutch and save you on very important turns. So if you can't afford obviously all of the super legendary rings straight away, don't stress about it. Ring of the Clover is here for you guys. Apart from that, honestly, the other rings that you can choose are just defensive-based rings. Sage of the Judgment is a defensive choice that you can run, and obviously Tranquil Water at the very top, another option in there. Something that I do want to honorably mention in today's video, but do not unlock it on your account right now, is going to be Ring of the Seahorse. This is really good against strategy meta. At the moment, we are in a might meta, so it's just not good enough at the moment. But in the future, if there's any time a big strategy shift, Ring of the Seahorse might be one of those rings that you need to keep an eye on because it's a really good defensive against those marches. So now we've gone through the gems, we've gone through the signet rings. Let's finish it off with the mounts as well as adornments, right? Cyrus the Great needs Valor. You need Valor on his hero because you're increasing the passive skill might damage dealt. This trait is the exact same trait that you're going to need for your Boudica. It's going to be the exact same trait for your Vlad. So either way, you're going to need Valor for those 3 heroes. When it comes to your Barbarossa and when it comes to Mansa Musa, and depending on the Roland build that you've got, you can go down a variety of different trait options. One of the cool traits that I really do like on here is Lifesaver. As you can see for my Mansa Musa, this is after the mounted hero causes recovery effects, you're getting a 4.8% damage reduction on top. So whenever he heals, which he's normally doing for you, you're getting added damage reduction now from your mount. Renewal is a really good way because you're now increasing the mounted hero's healing effectiveness, which is obviously giving your recovery better chances. This is really good. When it comes to Roland, again, if you go down the healing build and you've got Golden Odyssey on that march, Lifesaver is going to be the way that you can run. If you are not running that, I would recommend running an alternative trait called Bedrock. Bedrock is going to reduce the amount of damage that you take from all sources, which is really, really good. Apart from that, obviously, you want to double it up with another defensive base trait if possible, and you'll be perfectly fine out there. When it comes down to the adornments, obviously the different amount of adornments in the game, the first thing to understand when it comes to them is the types of adornments that you've got. Guiding Star is increasing hero skill damage as well as attack and health. This adornment is really good to build for on Cyrus, Vlad, and Boudica. So any of your damage dealers, you want to build a Guiding Star. And what you're going to be rolling for is a different choice of, obviously, special effects. A lot of the big spenders do like Secondary Strike, but from a lot of the data that we've been taking at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the most optimum choices. There's other stuff that you can be running, such as Resistance, which is a really good one. Even Stacked Armor, which is a really good one as well, that you can be running in there. And even stuff like even Lone Wolf is an alternate one. But if it was up to me, I would aim for a honestly, Secondary Strike build. I have seen my friend that runs Secondary Strike on his Cyrus, and it absolutely slaps on there. So it really does help the damage output on you, right? So I would recommend this. Alternatively, if you do not want this, Insight. Insight says you reduce subsequent damage taken from that skill type. So when you're fighting Lubus, for example, you're going to reduce the constant skill damage that you're taking from Secondary Strike skills. If you're fighting, obviously, your Swordsman, guess what? The constant active skills is going to get reduced. So Insight is a really powerful damage reduction tool that you could put on your Cyrus or Vlad and get away with it if you do not like the option of Secondary Strike. When it comes to your other heroes, and this is honestly, when it comes to your other heroes, run Resistance. So when it comes to Mansa Musa, when it comes to Roland, when it comes to the others, run 2 Resistances with a Stalwart Shield. This actually stacks, so it's giving you a massive amount of damage reduction for the first 18 seconds in battle, which is reduction the first 3 instances of skill damage on top, which is great. But on top of this, you're actually getting a double stack of troop damage taken reduction, health, and defense. So you're actually getting more tankier by running a double Stalwart Shield and Resistance on those 2 heroes. So those are the adornments. Those are the special effects that I would honestly be aiming for when it comes to your warrior pikemen. And that is everything, right? I have just gone through the gems, I have gone through the signet rings, I have just gone through the mounts and adornments, and on top of this, we have spoken about all of the Season 1 heroes. We've talked about the Season 4 upgrade of Cyrus that you're going to be aiming for as your primary 5-star hero, and then we have gone through all of the different formations that you can see on screen. So what I'm going to do, just to finish it off, to give everyone as much information and to summarize this video, is go through all of the formations one last time, and more importantly, give you my recommendations on investment star level for your commanders. So with that, Boudica, Barbarossa, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, in my eyes, is a must-have 5-star hero if you're able to do that. Pushing him to 3-star is going to be mandatory, though, for any player, free to play and above. Barbarossa, you can work on this hero over time. 1-star, 3-star, and 5-star is actually fantastic as a super tanky commander. Boudica, you just want 1 stars. If you push her 1 star, she's going to be good enough. And if you push her to 3 stars, that is perfectly reasonable as well, because as I said before, you can actually choose to use her if you want to, instead of a Barbarossa that you might have on your account that is at 1-star difficulty, right? So moving on there, we've got Cyrus, Barbarossa, and Mansa. This is just continuing from that new era, old era to the new era. We've got Cyrus as our main DPS on here, and again, 5-star Cyrus. 5-star in Cyrus is going to be your must-do, must-pick hero, no matter what, as a non-negotiable topic here for the Ultimate Warrior Guide. Mansa Musa, again, will follow up there as your second 5-star hero, and then Barbarossa, depending on your spending level, can be anything from 3 to 5 stars, and this is going to be perfectly fine for Season 4 and onwards. Moving into the Season 5, 6, and 7 heroes now. Vlad. Vlad is a hero that if you do invest into him, I would recommend only going for a 3-star Vladimir. He is good, but going for the 5-star feels like a bit of a wasted investment, knowing that you're able to actually improve this hero with Roland. Roland is another hero that I'd actually recommend 5-star in. And that is not just because obviously you want a full 5-star lineup, that is just because when he reads on Roland's skills, you actually need to 5-star this hero. To get the big power boost on your Roland, you get a nice little bit here on the 1-star, but on the 3 stars, you get nice Commander Might additional 15% increase, so they do more damage, and you get that little bit of extra recovery rate. But on that big 5-star, you change the skills input. So when we look on this, before you have every 4 times, when you 5-star this, it's every 3 times. And this gives you super consistency and obviously uptime on your skill. So this is why 5-star in Roland, I would suggest, is a must. It's going to take you a long time to do it. I understand as a free-to-play player, but he is one of those heroes that if you 5-star, you're not going to be able to regret it. So that is my full formation list broken down. We've gone from Season 1 all the way to Season 7 with all the information for the signet rings as well as the mounts, adornments, and gems. So if you've enjoyed it, you thought this was informative, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comment section what you'd like to see. I'm honestly feeling Warrior Swordsman, so let me know if you're feeling the vibes too. And until the next video, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.